Locals once claimed a monastery had a Yeti skull. Explorers took hair samples. Scientists couldn't explain them. 7 expeditions found giant footprints. 2 even claimed they saw the creature. Governments made rules because they thought the Yeti might be real. But then, something changed everything. In 2008, high in the mountains of Arunachal Pradesh, a worker was heading back to his camp before dark. He never made it. The next morning, his body was found, sitting upright, neck broken, no wounds, no blood, no signs of struggle. His money was still there. His phone, untouched. Doctors said this kind of force wasn't normal. There were no animal marks, no human explanation. Locals said only one thing, Yeti. But here's what makes this even stranger. This wasn't the first time something like this had been reported. Stories like this go back decades, even centuries. People disappearing. Strange footprints appearing overnight. Unexplained sounds echoing through the mountains. And every time, the same name comes up. Yeti. Then in 2019, something shocking happened. An Indian Army expedition reported massive footprints near Makalu Base Camp, 32 inches long. Too large to belong to any known human. Too clear to ignore. They called it possible evidence of the Yeti. And this time, it wasn't just locals, it was trained professionals. People who spend their lives in extreme terrain. So the question is this creature real? Or have we been fooled for centuries? To answer that, we need to understand where this story actually began. Because the Yeti isn't just a rumour, it's a legend deeply rooted in culture. For thousands of years, people in the Himalayas have described the same being. A massive, ape-like creature, 7 to 8 feet tall, covered in dark fur, walking on 2 legs, long arms, broad chest, unnatural strength. It whistles, it smells, it appears and disappears. Some even believe it brings death. Others say it watches from a distance. Silent, patient, almost intelligent. These stories are so old they existed even before organised religion reached these regions, passed down from generation to generation. Not as entertainment, but as warnings. In remote villages, people still avoid certain paths after sunset, not because of animals, but because of what they believe might be watching them. Then came the moment that took this legend global. In 1951, a mountaineer photographed what became the most famous Yeti footprints ever. Clear impressions in the snow, human-like, but far too large. The image spread across newspapers around the world, and suddenly, the Yeti wasn't just a local belief anymore. It became an international mystery. Expeditions were launched. Scientists, climbers, explorers, all searching for the same thing. Proof. Millions of dollars were spent. Years of effort. All for a single question. What is leaving those footprints? One explorer became completely obsessed. He travelled deep into the Himalayas multiple times, collected samples, studied remains said to belong to the Yeti. After years of research, he made a shocking claim. There might not be just one Yeti, but multiple types. Some physical, some something else. But before he could explain further, he died in a plane crash. And just like that, his answers were gone. The mystery only became stronger. But eventually, someone decided to approach this differently, not with belief, not with fear, but with logic. A legendary climber spent over a decade searching for the Yeti. At first he believed, because he saw something large, dark, moving in a way that didn't seem human, that one moment changed everything for him. He dedicated years to finding the truth, tracking patterns, studying footprints, analysing behaviour. And after all that time, his conclusion was simple. Not a monster, a bear. At first that sounds almost disappointing, but the explanation is actually fascinating. Bears, especially in snowy regions, have a very unusual walking pattern. Their back feet often land directly on top of their front footprints. This creates a single elongated track. Now add melting snow, wind distortion, time, and suddenly that footprint starts to change shape. It becomes longer, wider, more human-like, and if you see that in isolation, in the middle of nowhere, your brain tries to interpret it. It tries to find something familiar, and that's when the illusion begins. Another researcher confirmed this with field studies. He found that many so-called Yeti footprints contained subtle claw marks, something humans don't have. But bears do. Even more interesting. Young bears climbing trees often bend their paws in a way that creates a thumb-like impression, making the footprint look even more human, piece by piece. The mystery started to break down, but science didn't stop there. Researchers collected hair samples claimed to belong to the Yeti, from different regions, different expeditions, different time periods. They tested everything: hair, bones, teeth. The results were consistent. Himalayan brown bears, Asian black bears, other known animals, even dogs. There was no unknown species, no hidden creature. And what about that mysterious death in 2008? When investigators revisited the case, they found no evidence of any Yeti, no unusual DNA, no unknown traces. Even the so-called hair sample turned out to be something else. Not hair at all, plant material. The story had grown from confusion to assumption to fear and finally into legend. So why do people still believe? Because the Yeti isn't just a creature. It's an idea. It represents the unknown. The possibility that something still exists beyond our understanding. Something we haven't discovered yet. And in a world where almost everything feels explained, that idea is powerful. It brings back mystery, curiosity, excitement. But here's the truth. We don't need myths like the Yeti to feel that sense of wonder, because the real world is already full of it. Scientists estimate that we've only discovered a small fraction of all species on Earth. There are creatures deep in the ocean that glow in complete darkness, animals in dense forests that humans have never seen, entire ecosystems still completely unexplored. And here's something even more fascinating. There once existed a real creature that sounds exactly like the Yeti, a massive ape, nearly 10 feet tall, covered in thick fur. Scientists call it Gigantopithecus. It lived thousands of years ago. Now imagine early humans encountering something like that, seeing it from a distance, trying to explain it, telling others, and over generations, those stories evolve. Details change, fear gets added, mystery grows, until one day it becomes a legend. So maybe the Yeti isn't real, but the idea of it, that came from somewhere, and maybe that's the real mystery. So the next time you hear a story like this, don't just ask if it's true, ask why it exists. Because sometimes what we choose to believe reveals more about us than the truth ever could. And sometimes the real mystery isn't hiding in the mountains, it's inside the human mind.